Hello, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I am Disco Kitty, the Crappy Crafter. Today, I have marker. There's supposed to be a whole bunch of alcohol markers, but it sounds like there's sand in there. So I'm really curious what I could possibly have gotten. So, they come from the Crafter's Companion. They are Spectrum Noir alcohol markers. And, well, let's just get into it because I'm really curious what the sand sound is. Alright, let's get right up inside this box. Curious about what is making the sandy sound. Plus, I'm excited to get lots of new markers. Always excited for art supplies. Who's with me? So many markers. The figure set. Seascape set. Landscape set. Sketching set. The 36 basic set. I wanted to make sure that I didn't have too many doubles, and, you know, I ended up with a lot of doubles because I forgot to check Jazz's box, too. This case came for free with a purchase of so many markers. I don't remember how many it was. Probably the 36 set, because I think that's how many it holds, I think. Some more flesh tones. And all the silica gel, because that's what's making the sandy sound. The pouch is actually really pretty cool. It opens up flat, and it had the middle divider comes out. Super cool. It reminds me of an old rolly cart that I used to have for my Anime Boston days when I sold art at Anime Boston. That was pretty fun. I really like this case. Alright, let's get into the markers. Pile them up. Now, these in the 36 pack are all individually wrapped. Every single one of them. And unfortunately, they're all pretty crappy wraps, so I don't get very many good peelin' feelin' kind of things out of this. The rest of them are not in wraps. It's just the weirdest thing. I don't understand why they're not, but hey, whatever. Alright, let's start swatching. That was the best peel out of all 36. And this is the worst peel out of all 36 because it broke my goddamn nail. Ugh, my nails are so fragile. Look at that. Look at that. Anyways, on we go. And there they are, all the ones that I own. Some of these are in the wrong spots. They will get changed later, off camera, whatever. Now it's time to put the trays together that I got 3 days later. This is now 3 days later. Because I wanted trays. Somebody had once told me that they come in trays, and while that's technically true, they're not the trays that I wanted. I've got them all organized according to the sheet, so they just get to go plop, plop, plop. I just need 6 more to fill it up. That was a lovely shaky sound. Now the paper. This is the Spectrum paper. It's heavier, it's thicker, it's smoother. And we're going to test it against the Neenah cardstock, which is a Bristol. I was told it was a vellum Bristol, but it says vellum nowhere on this, so I don't know. This is the Neenah one. It's coarser, but it's smoother on the other side, of course. And this is the thicker Spectrum paper. The printer didn't do a very good job printing. I thought that the Spectrum paper was not going to work, but here we are testing the black because I don't really have any place to put the black. And then we'll start, I'm just starting at the top left-hand corner and working my way down to the bottom right-hand corner. I have no real plans. I'm just gonna pick out each marker and go. One thing I will point out that you might not be able to tell because, you know, the camera is not that good of a camera, is that the papers, and this will contribute to my theory later about the papers and their fibers and their suckiness, is that the inks on the Spectrum paper seem more saturated. Like there's just more ink there. And I'll say that again because I feel that the paper, the way the paper is laid or whatever, I don't know, makes it just suck the ink right out of the pens. So that makes the inks more saturated, more colorful, darker, brighter, all of that. I really like it. I know that the one on the right, which is the Spectrum paper, looks worse overall, but part of that is just the lighting. I couldn't get my light in such a way that it was equally lit over both papers and not casting a shine on both papers, but it ended up casting quite the shine on the Spectrum paper. And for that, I feel bad because it's not really giving a good visual of what's going on. Both papers work very, very well, but oh, and here is where I realized I messed up. You see where I'm pointing down at the bottom? I used one color twice and didn't mean to, so I will use that color again in the little spot that the extra spot as it were, and then move on. If you go to the Spectrum website, you can get a 30 pack of 9x12 paper for about $16. If you go to Amazon, you can get the Neenah paper, $325, for a little bit less than that price. It's about the same. So I think they worked pretty well for their price points. Neither one of them bled through onto the next page, but the Spectrum did bleed through onto the back of itself a lot more than the other one did. But just now that you can see it without the glare, that was really pretty, right? It worked really well. The Neenah paper also did not bleed through, and it did not soak through as well as the Spectrum did. And I'll explain that in a little bit. But I feel that they're the fibers in the paper were aligned in such a way that it just pulls the ink out of the markers like a sponge. They worked really well. I like them. Well, there you have it. Here are all of my markers. A lot of markers. I'm excited. So, yeah, they seem to work pretty well. They swatched pretty well. And then I made some pretty art. I colored some pretty art. So here's the Neenah paper I got from Amazon. And here's the Spectrum Noir that came in Jazz's box, which I found out is not, in fact, 9... It's not 8.5 by 11. It's more like 8.25 by 11.25. Seriously? What is up with that? Anyways, but it worked really well. And if you look at the backs, this didn't bleed through as much as the Spectrum papers. And here's why. I know nothing. I'm not an artist. I didn't go to art school. I don't know what I'm talking about. Especially not a paper expert. This stuff is super smooth. It feels almost glossy. It's really nice. This stuff has a texture, and it's more textured on the side that I drew on than it is on the side that I probably should have drawn on, because as you can see, the toner is coming off with the alcohol, which means it didn't bond to the paper properly. So I probably should have done it on the smoother side so I had more surface area to bond to, less little nooks and grooves and stuff like that. But getting back to why I think they didn't bleed through as much. Oh, and you can hear the paper quality too. This is a deeper, heavier paper. Anyways, while I was using these, some of the markers on the Neenah paper seemed very almost dry. I know they're not, but they seemed it. And on the Spectrum paper, they seemed terribly juicy, just like all the other markers. Here's my thoughts on that. I think the Spectrum paper actually has something in it that pulls the ink out. It's just drawing the ink out like a wick does water or oil or whatever. It's sucking the ink out, where this one is not sucking it out quite so much, which is why this one seemed to get better coverage. This one seems to be a little more splotchy in some places, and then why the Spectrum bled through onto the back a little bit more. But that's just my 2 cents. I have no idea. I really enjoyed it. For anything I want to last, I'll probably use the Spectrum papers. I probably won't print on the Neenah paper again, but we'll see. I'll try printing on the smooth side and see how that goes in another video. So if you want to see that, hit like, tell me so in the comments, and I'll do that. Or if you want to see me just draw something on both papers to see how the pens that came in Jazz's box work on each paper and then color them, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next week. Stay safe.